Hello, beautiful human. Thanks for clicking on our conversation with AJR. We have an entire album to dissect. It's called OK Orchestra. Please leave your honest feedback in the comment section below. If you haven't listened to the album, we got a link in the description. And like the video, and even if you hate us, please subscribe.
Let's do this. Zach Show.
Hello, beautiful human. We got Dan here. I'm Zach, and we welcome to the couch AJR.
We are actually on a couch.
Yeah, you are. We have a lot to discuss here. We have a new album to unpack, but also I got to start with saying thank you. Thank you for making today's conversation look and feel like it's normal, kind of, but it's not. It's just so not.
Do you think we could fool people into thinking we're in the same room?
No, but we could try.
We're recording. They know you just claimed that we're not in the same room. It's just you didn't think through that at all.
Well, the internet is really smart. Well, okay, JK, there's a couple people on the internet that are really smart, and the rest fall victim to this sheep herd mentality type deal, which certain songs tap into that. So a lot to discuss here, but why OK Orchestra? What does that even mean? Does OK stand for something that is not okay?
So we actually started off with a different title, and for most of while we were making the album, it was going to be called Mad Orchestra. And that was back when Bang was like really blowing up, and we thought, oh, let's make a whole album that sounds kind of like Bang, like dark and evil sounding. And then as we wrote, and when the pandemic hit, it just kind of occurred to us, like, what, are we really going to make an entirely dark like album? That doesn't sound fun. You know, that sounds like we'll be depressed by the end of it. And so it started to feel a little more melancholy as opposed to dark, a little more like longing, and by the end a little more hopeful actually. And so we realized Mad Orchestra wasn't really like the right title.
Right. The worst thing that we've learned that the worst thing that you can do is just plan beforehand either what an album will sound like or what a song will sound like. It almost always ends up not being that. You know, it's when you're a songwriter making an album, it's just the song. This is so corny and cliche, but the song kind of tells you where it wants to go. You can't really force anything. So that's why it just ended up being something totally different.
How much of the album is done before you're like, this just sounds okay? This is an okay orchestra. It's not a great orchestra. It's not amazing. It's not mad. Doesn't suck.
Yeah. The concept, it's not like this album's okay, so we're going to call this album OK Orchestra. The idea was a lot of the album, and especially the overture and then kind of throughout the album, is about being worried about becoming irrelevant and obsolete, and being like, okay, I'm okay for now. I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know if I'm going to age out of whatever, success or relevance I have to society. But I'm okay for now. And I don't want to be part of this sad orchestra of trumpets and drum sets complaining and longing for their youth. I don't want to be part of that. That sounds upsetting, but I'm okay for now. So that's where the idea came from.
By the way, like an interesting concept that people feel in their lives on all levels. Like it doesn't matter what you do in life. The fear of being irrelevant to friends, to family, to the public, just your role in society as a whole is something that is very real and it's poignant and people face it. But is it something that you face only after success in your lives?
No, I think that is absolutely something every single person faces, no matter who you are. And I think we've realized in recent years, probably in the last 10 years, that being called irrelevant is probably the most insulting thing you could call someone. Yeah. We wrote about that in a script years ago. I mean, you could curse someone out and call them this and this, but then irrelevant has just this horrible connotation of nothing you do matters, no one likes you, no one cares about what you do. And that's everyone's worst fear, is not being liked, not being cared about, not doing something important. And the word irrelevant is just sort of everything is underneath that. So that's the most insulting thing you could think of.
Are those fears heightened at all, though, after success, no matter what that success may be, whether that is an Apple commercial or a sold out tour, or, I mean, yes, it exists within us, but I mean, some things could poke it stronger than others.
I think our career has been really interesting because we've hit so many of our goals at so many different times. And so irrelevance for us doesn't necessarily happen. I mean, I don't see us becoming irrelevant because we didn't have the number one smash hit at the very beginning. We kept setting more and more goals for ourselves. And the fact that Bang went number one on iTunes and number one on Shazam, it didn't go number one on radio. It didn't go number one on Spotify. We have so many places that we can still go. So it's not like, okay, we're looking back, we reached every goal that we wanted to, and now we're done. We still have so much of a roadmap ahead of us that we're excited to keep pushing further and further and further.
We didn't. You're asking about like the success of the band. The album is not really like the idea of the album is not really like we had a hit and now what do we do? It's not really about the band at all. It's more about like, you know, the human experience of like getting to a certain age where like, oh wow, when did I stop knowing the lingo of what 12-year-olds are talking about? Am I really that old at whatever age in your 20s? So we thought that was kind of an interesting little meat nugget for the album.
By the way, like that is so relevant throughout the entire album. It does seem like you guys spent a lot of time with your own life and exploring yourselves and what you've been through going back years. And it feels like you went back years, but also in some cases super relevant, like could have been weeks or days, you know, between you writing the song. So yeah. I want to go through every record but back to Adam's point of, you know, you're talking about number ones and you have so much more to grow. Do you set goals for an album like this? And yes, I'm not even talking about data-driven goals, creative goals. Like, do you sit down and say, these are the things that I need to achieve before I start orchestrating this OK Orchestra?
Nice. Yeah, definitely. One of the big ones is, no, it's a good question. One of the big ones is let's just make sure there aren't any two songs that sound alike on the album. That's number one. That's what we found, that so many people come to the shows and are able to sing every single song. And I think it has a lot to do with that in addition to the lyrics. You know, you go from a song, I mean, obviously we'll go through all of them, but you play one song and then the next one is almost like, oh, is this the same band? Can this be on the same album? And that's just been so cool to us. And it's been something that we've gotten really criticized for. By critics and writers out there, but also we really think it's the reason why people show up in such large numbers because their attention is always there. We try not to lose them at any point. So that's one thing that we say. Okay, if we write this song and then the next song we start has a similar intro or has a similar BPM or something, we're going to scrap that or totally change it up because that's really boring to us, and we really feel like we're going to lose our audience.
I mean, Jack just talked about the show. When Ryan and Jack are writing songs, they're always talking about, you know, how can this translate to the stage? And I think that's something really important as they're writing, you know, like, will this song make sense in a new creative way and new creative, you know, placement on the stage? Can we do something unique that people haven't seen before on stage using this song and express it in a way that's not just playing the song on stage? So I feel like that's another goal that we set for when we're creating an album.
The variety in the sounds used on this album, I mean, it showcases musical intelligence. Like, question, are you making all of these instruments from the piano at first and then having the real versions do it? Or is it all keys and based from, I guess, computers?
It's a little of both. I think after doing this for so long, we figured out, okay, the synth version of the piano actually sounds better than sounds closer to what we're imagining than what a real piano would sound like. Because as much as synths try to emulate real instruments, sometimes they come up with their own sound completely. Like, you know, the 808 sounds that everybody uses, like the trap snare that like every Ariana Grande, Future, Drake, like they all use the same. That started, I think maybe in the 80s, from people trying to approximate the real sound of a snare drum, like with a computer, and they failed miserably because it doesn't sound like a real snare drum, but they got a sound that was just as cool and just different.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just filled with knowledge nuggets.
You are probably the smartest person in this room right now.
Thank you.
Well, okay. So, but like the strings, like let's start going record by record. Well, first, what song came the easiest?
Ooh. Oh, cool. All your questions are so cool.
Yeah.
Probably Bummerland, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Bummerland was a funny story. Once we started writing Bummerland, we were done in probably 20 minutes. But the actual track for Bummerland we had for 2 years before that, and we loved the track and the drums, and we're like, oh, this is so unique. People are going to be able to dance, and it doesn't really sound like anything in the mainstream. And we probably went through like 6 choruses, and all of them we were trying to convince ourselves so hard that they were good, and they were just so nothing, and they were just so white bread, and it was just like, and then finally it got to the point where we were out in Long Island over the summer, and I think we like needed to get out there and experience like nature and like the feeling of summer in order to land on like Bummerland, the ultimate like sad summer song. And then once we came up with Bummerland, Here I Am, Better Nix My Summer Plans, it was literally just the first thing that came out of my mouth was, this month I got 7 haircuts, now my hair is all gone. It's as if we like sang the song as we were writing it and just finished it. It was so easy.
And the thing that stuck with us for so long was this drum pattern. It's this.
How does that come to be? Because like it sounds on but a little off.
Yeah. I think what we thought was so cool is that it like felt kind of hip hop, but like didn't remind us of anything that we had heard before. It's like, boo, boo. It's like not quite an 808, but it's like if you actually just hit a big bass drum, it's like rumbling the whole room. And we
So
thought
big,
if
yeah.
we put it in kind of like a tribal setting with like a tambourine, that's
We thought
kind
that
of
people would, do that.
what would they do?
Like do that, and we don't know yet because we haven't really played it live on stage. But hopefully, cross our fingers. God,
Hopefully
please,
they do that.
Please, God.
But that's a record that wouldn't have existed if pandemic didn't happen, right? Like, like the world goes to, you need to escape. You're sitting on a piece of production for well over a year. Like that was, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Everything needed to line up that way. And maybe if that didn't happen, the piece of production would still be collecting dust somewhere.
You're right. There was a few moments on this album where that happened. Like, oh, wait, we have this. And like, oh, and that lines up perfectly. And for so long, we were like, okay, obviously we're going through this time. AJR always writes songs about the current moment, what people are feeling. When are we going to do our pandemic song? We knew we were going to do a pandemic song. We definitely were not going to call it, Stay Inside or something like that. There was just no way. It was going to have to be some sort of like AJR twist on it.
That would still be relevant after the pandemic too.
Right, exactly. Because
Yeah.
everyone feels that Bummerland, no matter what's going on. And then when that idea came of you're only going up from, if once you reach the bottom, the only place there is to go is up. It's like, oh my God, how did we not do that like 5 years ago when we were writing The Click? That's the most like easy AJR concept there is. It's like made for us. We're like, okay, let's get that out quick.
The build, it's anthemic, it's relevant, it gives you hope and something to look forward to. It's perfect.
Thank you.
So Ryan did something insane for this song, and I think it's one of my favorite pieces of the whole album. And it was so like important that the song came out before the album came out, because it gave people a little taste of what they were gonna hear as kind of like production thematically throughout the entire album. And we wanted to represent it on like the single cover of Bummerland. It's the bridge with these instruments transforming into other instruments. And Ryan did something that just like blew my mind the first time that I heard it. Are you gonna try and play a little piece of it, or should I keep talking until you're ready to actually play that?
Please play, because this is something that kind of follows through the album.
Yeah, let me play it and then I'll
World
give it back.
song,
So there's a rare little glimpse where it's soloed. So yeah, exactly like Adam said. So the story behind this was it actually started on our album Living Room. We did an overture for Living Room, and what was that, 7-8 years ago?
Yeah, like 2013.
And is it going to play here? Oh yeah, right here. Okay, so on Living Room, there's this part that goes, "Now you can't go breaking my heart." Here it's. And I remember Adam actually saying, like, I don't know if you remember this, Adam, like 7 years ago when I made it, he was like, oh, it kind of sounds like the vocals turning into a trumpet. And at the time we weren't really good producers or anything, but so it was just like the two were over each other and one just kind of lazily faded into the other. But it made me start thinking like, oh, what if we could actually totally seamlessly take a vocal and transition it into a trumpet, because they're all made from the same stuff. Like they're all made from sine waves or triangle waves or square waves. So if we could trick the ear into not knowing when the trumpet ended and when the vocal began, we thought like, oh, what an interesting way that you could hear the OK orchestra. It is this fluid instruments churning into instruments thing.
So how do you figure it out?
Yeah, it was so many years of trying, and obviously started with that, which sounds nothing like the most recent version. And then what's really funny is that on when we first made the beat for Bummerland, back when it was like an old version, Ryan tried to do it in the beginning of the song, and it just wasn't quite right. It wasn't really there. It was kind of obvious. We're like, oh, people would have been like, okay, I know exactly what you're trying to do. So we said, okay, let's not put it out if it's not perfect. And then he kind of put it aside. And then he truly just got better at producing over a year. He just was like, okay, let me sit down and really figure out how to do this. And I remember at the end of the day, the morning that he said that, he had it. And I was like, oh my God, like you truly, like that's about as good as you're going to get with that.
Do you teach yourself, Ryan?
Yeah, you can't look this up anywhere. Just like we couldn't really look up how to, on Neo Theater, do the 1940s choir. It was really just like trial and error. Trial by error? No. Trial with errors.
It's trial by
error.
fire. Trial by fire.
Trial by combat. Trial
by combat. It was really just, it's honestly just like a series of, 6 or 7 different effects automating at different times, and EQs, and this is so boring, but EQs, compressors, vocal synth, which basically like takes the artifacts of your voice and makes it into a synth. It's just so much stuff happening at once in order to sound like the easiest free-flowing thing in the world.
So you master it for Bummerland, and then you really, it shines in World's Smallest Violin, right?
Yeah.
That's, I remember when you sent that record to me, and it was like, you didn't even tell me like what you had done. You just said, listen to it. And it was such a journey. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. That was, so funny enough, we were going to put out World's Smallest Violin over the summer. So like almost like a year ago. We were going to put it out. Then we kind of realized like, Bummerland actually fits better for where we're at in the world right now. As a standalone song, Bummerland feels like the anthem of this summer more than World's Smallest Violin does. But we wrote it about a very real thing that's rarely talked about, because you kind of seem like a brat if you complain about, your own lives. But we wrote about this idea that like 2 things can be sad, right? Like 2 things are allowed to be sad, even though there's hunger in this part of the world. Your own parents' divorce is allowed to be sad as well. And it's really hard not to seem like an asshole, complaining about that. But the song is kind of about, if you find the right person to complain to, then you don't seem like an asshole at all.
Isn't that the trick? But is there a fear of you seeming like an asshole for even bringing up the topic?
Yeah, exactly. That's the one song where we knew that we would get some hate for it. And it's very meta in that way. It's like we're already saying, no, we know we're for doing this, but we just have to write about it, because it's true. Everyone's feeling that at some point of, I don't want to bring this up because, this other thing is happening, but at some point, what am I supposed to do with these feelings inside? Am I supposed to just keep them in there? They're just going to fester. So it's that weird, conundrum that you put yourself in. Sort of, it was definitely one of the weirder topics on the album in that way.
Yeah.
And ultimately, rather empowering, I think, the reminder that your emotions and your feelings are valid. And yes, things are worse. They exist, but that doesn't make your issues any more trivial, because they're still an issue to you.
Right. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do, Zach?
Dude, seek help. A lot of it.
What are you going to do? Concrete steps.
I'll get you a plan of action.
Okay, good.
What are you thinking, Daniel?
Oh, no. Honestly, sometimes when we interview you guys, I forget I'm supposed to be talking, because I just like watching you guys break things down. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm not watching a YouTube video. I'm actually supposed to be present here.
Speaking of that, you guys interviewed Frankie Jonas, who, oh my God, what a storyteller that guy is.
Great
we were
interview.
like transfixed. He's so magnetic.
Yeah.
He really is extraordinary, right?
Yeah.
Clearly somebody who's seasoned in the art of communicating, and, he's very personable, and what a great person. And I would be nervous if I was him to be totally honest and authentic, but at a certain point, you just gotta boils over, baby. And he's being himself, and he's leaving nothing off the table.
Loved that one. Yeah.
We have records to get to. Ordinary-ish people, the opposite of Frankie Jonas, right?
Oh, interesting.
The record here. Well, can you define an ordinary-ish person?
Yeah. So this came from. This was one of the last, maybe the last song we wrote for the album.
Yep.
And we ran into this same thing with Neo Theater, where we wrote the song "Break My Face," where we were like, we have so much heady stuff on this album, like so much stuff where you really need to think and listen.
A lot of lyrics.
Yeah, a lot of dense lyrics. We need one for the album that's just like easy, that just at the show you just put your hands up and you get it the first time you listen.
And the song started, I remember the song started with the line, we had those chords and the da 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 da. We knew it was a really good melody. Wait, pause for a sec. I know we started with the line, no, you're not stupid, you're just special. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but that's really funny. You know, like that always comes up. No, you're not dumb, you're just special. And I was like, that's a very AJR-ish line. And I think we really wrote the song around that, and it for some reason morphed into this ordinary-ish people concept, which is really it's a very relatable thing, which is, you know, it's a song about not being able to win. You know, like you have this group of friends that are going to get mad because you're this, and then if you're the opposite, you're going to have to, you know, have a group of friends that are going to get mad that you're this. So really the only way you can truly be happy is if you're nothing. And we thought that was a really kind of dark and funny concept to write about.
Yeah. It's like the not cheesy way of saying, like, be yourself. It's like the more interesting look at it.
Because if you're nothing, no one can buy. They can be like, but you have this, but no, I don't have anything, and then people will leave you alone. You know.
When you're nobody, nobody minds.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it started with this.
What is that?
It's like a whole marching band thing, and then we got Arnetta, our trumpet player, to like record trumpets on top of it and kind of built it up, some synth, some real trumpets. And I remember I played that for you. I was like, I think that there's something cool where you picture this marching band on the field of a football stadium, but there's also like a chill hip hop.
It's our head bob song.
Yeah, like almost like our stoner song, where it's like, I don't know if it's a hands up, it's more of like a head bob, right?
You mentioned an eighth in Joe. Joe's a stoner.
Speaking of,
You can smoke an eighth on a school day.
That's the truth, man. You said it.
Me too, Joe. Fight me in the alleyway.
Before we get into Joe, how did Blue Man Group get involved?
Oh yeah, the story behind that. I guess originally we've been such huge fans of the Blue Man Group, and it originally started out as inspiration for our show, our live show. And I know Zach has seen our show a number of times. And what the Blue Man Group do
And
is...
Dan.
And Dan. Oh.
has Dan ever come to a
I've
show?
been there, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I
don't
didn't know
count me
Dan.
out. I've been
I
there.
didn't know Dan saw our show. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for
I want to make
thanks
something
for
clear.
coming, man.
Dan, there's no way Dan has been to as many AJR shows as I, but he, I think, been to one.
I've been to one,
This is
and
what I
I've been
was
to
planning.
3 Blue Man Group shows. So
What?
You know what? That's the same thing. That's it. Yeah. No, but anyway, originally when we were first conceptualizing being on stage for our fans, we said, okay, we should definitely take inspiration from Blue Man Group in that you don't know what's going to come next, you know, and they have this crazy mystery about them where you just can't look away because they go from one thing where you don't understand what they're doing. They're playing a tubed instrument. You're like, I've never seen that instrument before. Oh, okay, this is going to be the whole show. And then it's bam, a totally new scene on stage. They're throwing marshmallows in each other's mouths and are building a art sculpture with it. So that feeling of like, what's going on? I don't know who these people are, but I can't look away is exactly what we wanted on stage. So that's why we started adapting these weird transitions and weird effects behind us and sort of magic elements in our shows to give the audience no reason to look away. So that was number one. Fast forward to now, we recently saw the Blue Man Group again, right? I think
like a year ago.
right before the pandemic, right
Yeah.
before quarantine started. And we were like, okay, we have to do something with them. They're so good and they have such good, even the music is great. So we said, okay, what's the weirdest feature we could do on this album that no one will predict? You can go through every artist that's out right now and you're not gonna get it. And it was them, you know? And it was so cool to work with them on this. And they came in and just absolutely destroyed it. And it's such a cool part of the song to listen to. And I'm sure everyone's just gonna love it.
maybe you can't reveal their secrets, but when they work with you, are they in blue or are they not in blue?
We're in blue.
We showed up in blue and they didn't, and we were like, oh, I thought we all were going to be in blue for this.
One of us is going to have to change.
One of us is going to change. Yeah. I don't even know. Are we allowed to say like if they can speak or not?
No, let's leave it a mystery.
It's got to be a mystery, Dan. Don't try to spoil it, man.
I have so many questions about them because it's not just the same three guys forever, right? Like there's
a bunch of different Blue Men because they have different shows across the country and the world.
Right. I don't think they can all be at the same. I don't think they could be in Vegas and New York and LA at once. I don't think. Yeah.
Well, you brought up how quick they change, and on Ordinary People, it does sound like it starts like a jazz band, then some hip hop drums come in, then it comes like super speed, and then there's some dubstep at the end too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. They definitely switch genres. Even in just those three long phrases that they had. It was very Blue Man Group.
That was our instruction to them, because we did a similar thing with Rivers Cuomo on Sober Up. We basically said, make it a left turn. Make it sound like only Rivers could have come up with something like this. And we never would have written My Favorite Color Is You. And that's why it's like one of our favorite bridges we've ever made. And we gave Blue Man Group similar instruction where it's make it very clear that announcing the Blue Man section, AJR wouldn't have done this production. And we thought that teaming up in that way was cool.
Can you play it, Ryan?
Oh, I already switched sessions. Why, do you really want me to?
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
Dan is so disappointed. Oh, man.
I am, because you do have that voice in there, don't you, that they use in their live show?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Only you
okay,
that
wait,
have seen
Dan
it.
is the biggest Blue Man Group fan in the world.
Ryan, just go back to the other session and play it for 1 second.
Wait a sec.
It's for Dan.
Dan is such a big fan.
I knew that voice when I heard it.
Dan's not a fan of much, but the Blue Men are on his list.
Oh.
It seems like they're number one, honestly. Wait, hold on. We're going to go to the voice
They're up there.
that Dan is talking about. Yeah, here it is.
Your attention, please. Please yell if you're paying attention.
In that part, Dan is... Dan was like, I'm paying attention. He was like literally talking back to them.
There it is.
We wanted... They're very like acoustic drum centered, and we're not. We're very like synth drum centered. So all the fills, I think I have
And then the
it
tubed
somewhere?
instruments, too, is their like classic thing.
Oh yeah, he had a name for it. I forgot. The pipes.
Yeah, it was hard. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Do you go into the studio with them, or do they do their own thing and just send it to you?
This was totally remote
Yeah.
because of the pandemic.
But were you working with them as they were doing it, or was it just like go and then come back to us?
Originally it was that, and then it was, I think we had like little changes, and then they came back and they had ideas, and it was extremely collaborative.
Cool. Can we go to Joe now?
Yeah, we can go to Joe now.
Let's talk Joe.
Dan checks out. All right, we did Blue Man.
I'll see you next time.
You should send us a list of other people you like, and we'll feature them next time too.
All right, good. I'll send you over a little list of people.
Yeah. Good.
It's very little. His mom's on the list. Your message in Joe is the opposite of the action of releasing a song about a person, right? It is a contradictory record in a sense. Like you're saying, I don't think of you, Joe, because you're a POS and you bullied me and you smoke eights on a school day, but I want it to be you kind of. I don't think of you, but I definitely do think of you. Like,
Right.
to the point where like maybe you could
Yeah.
say that like some of your motivation in life has to do with Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's definitely not about how he's a piece of. That's not at all what it is. It was kind of more interesting than that, and that's why we wanted to write it. And it's a true story. But it's very much about like, wow, there's that person that kind of you looked up to and you want to forget about because you knew him at such a formidable time in your life, and like no matter how much you accomplish, it's just like never going to be enough because I bet he's off doing much cooler things than what I'm doing. And we thought that's such a weird but like really risky idea for a song, and I had a lot of trepidations about putting it out, and Jack was like, no, we have to put it out. This is
Why did you have trepidations? Because
what.
you did not change the name.
Oh, yeah, because it's his actual name. And so I'm dreading the phone call. I don't know where he is in the world or anything, but I'm dreading that phone call.
Yep.
But is this a schoolyard bully? Because, by the way, like this is art, and I'm giving my interpretation, so obviously it's going to be different than yours. But that's for the sake of art. When I hear it, I immediately go back to middle school. Like I immediately go back to elementary school. But is that the time period that you went back to create this record?
It was around high school for him, but it wasn't quite bullying.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than that. It's like the person that you, you're their biggest fan. And they want nothing to do with you. It's everyone has that person. You're on their hook, and you think they are the coolest person on earth, and you'll change your way for that person because everyone, truly, like I said, everyone had that person back in high school or middle school or whatever.
So if it's an admirational song, why are you afraid of the call?
Oh God, because hey, we haven't talked in 12 years. You wrote a song about me, and now amphitheaters of people are singing it. I don't know. I don't want to have that call.
But does Joe think you're cool now? Because you've changed a lot since high school. You've accomplished a lot.
All of the lines in there are so true because I believe that Ryan did extend the invitation to the Radio City Music Hall show, and he didn't show up, and you will forever be on that hook because that's what like people like that do. They don't really quite change from that person to you. They're never gonna be there. They're always just gonna thumb up your text. They're never gonna have that honest conversation. So I don't think that Ryan will ever get an honest answer to that. I think that's something that we're all gonna have to just live with.
And it's funny. While we had a lot of conversations about this after I wrote it. Maybe Jack said like, oh, he could be like working at McDonald's now or something. Like he could have any level of success. And I remember like saying to Jack like, oh, if he's working at McDonald's, he's doing it ironically because he's like getting in with the common people. He's doing it in like the coolest way possible.
And that was a genuine response.
Yeah, it was a genuine response. It's like those things. I don't know if you had that, Zach, but like we even talked to Josh, our manager. He was like, God, everybody has that from college or high school or middle school, and we were like, okay, yeah, this is important to put
what Zach told me before the interview is that Dan is that person to Zach, and Zach is that person to Dan, so they have it towards each other. So that's why they have such good chemistry on camera.
Yeah, yeah, you nailed that one.
That's it, right?
Only good chemistry on camera.
Yeah, wait till the cameras go off. Ugh, you don't want to see that.
Yep.
They both turn on Joe and just listen silently.
Who's beatboxing in Joe? Oh, is that what you wanted to ask?
Oh yeah.
I have other questions but on my list. Yes.
Joe is some of the production I'm really most proud of because it's so simple. It's like really hard to make something really unique, and Lord by Royals by Lord did it really well. Where it's like,
I was just gonna add, like when he sent it to me, Ryan went off by himself, I think, and just started this one for like 3 days. And then he came back and he's like, I have this weird one. And it really took me like a week to wrap my head around the production. It does not sound like something that's so obviously AJR, more like ordinary-ish people. You kind of get it right away. Okay, I can dance to it. It's easy. This song has tempo switch ups that I don't even quite know how to dance to the piano and the beatboxing in the beginning. It's so weird. And we don't usually do songs like that. So you can keep going. But
but then it grew on you, right?
Yeah, but no, and that's why it was really cool because it wasn't so instant. It took literally like 5 or 6 days, and I was like, oh, this is not. I'm not supposed to dance to this. I'm just supposed to let it happen to me, And we have so few songs like that, and it was a really cool moment that we could make something new like that. But go on.
For me, it was exactly the opposite. Ryan sent me the song. Immediately, one listen, it was my favorite song on the album.
Wow.
Like the very first time, and I think. Like it changes a little bit, but I think right now it's still my favorite song.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
Awesome.
So it started from that's a sample of Mozart Piano Sonata Number 16 in C major.
Yeah.
And did you know it was a sample, Zach, or no?
I had a feeling, but is that hard to clear?
Well, you don't have to. If it's public domain, we didn't take the actual master. We took the sheet music of it, and it's over 100 years ago, so we can just take it.
Yeah. Nobody owns those rights.
Yeah, exactly. So we took that, and then we thought, okay, how do we combine the least classical thing ever with that and juxtapose it? And so we got this guy, Kenny Urban, who's a literal world champion beatboxer that we found on TikTok?
Or Instagram. Yeah, look him up on Instagram. It's so fun to watch.
And he recorded such insane stuff, and we kind of broke down like, okay, this is the idea of the song, and this is the general beat. And here I have the coolest part is the end when he just goes insane. I'll just play that.
We said just go off.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And we thought that was such a cool ending because that was such a middle school, high school thing. Like, look how well I beatbox.
Yeah, and no one was good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're super proud of that production.
Why did you need Joe to show up at your show?
Oh my God. I think you need to go to therapy for a long time to even get close to answering that question. There's just truly no answer. It's why it's the person that Ryan wanted to be. It's the person that we all want to be. He was the person that made everyone laugh in the class. He was the person that got the girls. He was the person that just by smiling, you were just so like, oh, I want that smile. Mine is ugly compared to him. You just don't know why, but it just is. It's just stuck in there.
I did some thinking while I was writing, and I wanted to put it in. It didn't quite make it, but the Beach Boys are our favorite band, obviously, my favorite band. I heard him say, I think in 7th grade, that Beach Boys were his favorite band. And I was like, me too. Beach Boys are my favorite band. And now we've like made an entire career off of saying the Beach Boys are our favorite
and then
band.
Ryan's like, I don't even like the Beach Boys. They're not that good. You woke up 10 years later. I have a whole career.
Yeah, but it's such a vulnerable spot to put yourself in. You know, I think you could understand being like, wow, so much of who I am is from this kid that I haven't talked to in so long. But we thought, like, if we're not doing that, why are we making music? You know, if we're not taking some kind of risks being vulnerable.
Probably my favorite line on the album is in Joe, because the first chorus goes, I don't ever think I should have left you back in school. And then what's the second chorus? I don't ever think of you. I got show my or look at all this stuff I do. Probably not as much as you. Still, like, so you're still stuck. Like this song, you have not resolved any of those feelings because you were 100% sure he is much, much more well off than you. You could be, the president, and still he's accomplished more. So that's such an interesting idea.
Adventure is out there. This is a record that showcases both of your vocals in a way that most records don't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's correct, Mike.
I'm sorry.
He meant Adam and Ryan, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my God, Zach.
It was funny. I really enjoy Adam's energy. No, but he really does. Like, you guys go back and forth in a way that I haven't heard. And I thought to myself, like, where's Ryan's song on this album? And there's no song that just features your vocals. So this is the closest we get, yeah?
Yeah, you're right. In the beginning, we were like, oh, it needs a Turning Out Part 3. And then we decided, like, no, the album doesn't need anything. It's if we're in the place, if I'm in an emotional state to write Turning Out Part 3, whatever it is, if it's devastatingly sad or happy, then it'll come when it comes.
Do you want to tell the story behind Adventures Out There?
Oh, no, you do it. Yeah.
You can jump in, but so Adventure is Out There most of the song was originally written for Neo Theater, and it was a song called Socks, and this has been the song that our fans are all, there's always like one song that an artist has and the fans that isn't released and the fans all know about it, and like, when are you gonna release that one? When are you gonna release that one? Because it almost made Neo Theater, and it was just, I think, a little bit too much like other songs on the album.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a little bit monotonous. So
Here,
what
let me just play a
happened
second of it.
Yeah, sure. This is the old version. And it was... And it was originally me on there. And so what we did is, we put it aside, and then we had one or two more for this album. We were like, wait, that was always such a good song. Let's break it out and see what we can do with it. And then I think we realized that Ryan sounded so much better than I did on there. Just like I had originally sung Turning Out Part 2 on the last album, and it just didn't quite pass for, genuine. It just didn't really work. And as soon as Ryan got on there, it was like, oh, that's the magic. The same thing happened with Adventure is Out There, which, we switched the name to Adventure is Out There, and then we rewrote this chorus, and we added some guitar in the beginning, and then it really just exploded from there. It was like, oh, God, now we have to release this one.
Yeah. And I think we were really inspired by, First Aid Kit and...
our friend's college band, right? You have it in
oh,
there?
yeah, I have it in the list.
We went to college with this kid Andrew, who's one of my friends, and he had this, little college band that he still has now. We listen to them a lot because it sort of brings us back to those roots of not really trying so hard with crazy electronic production, more just natural instruments. And we heard some slide guitar in his music in one of their songs. Wait, just play it for a sec.
It's a band called Patches.
Wait, it's later on, I think. There it is.
I was wondering if this is a real guitar.
So we just heard that slide guitar, and we were like, wow, AJR has never done slide guitar before. So we called up our friend Andrew in the band, and we were like, hey, can you record slide guitar for us? And he sent it right over, and he was like, yeah, sure. And then we just dropped it right in, and it worked so perfectly.
And we didn't pay him.
And we never will.
How does a beatboxer get points on a record? How does that work?
I think it's different for every single person, right? Did you give Kenny Urban 100% of the song like we talked about?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
We do it like the episode of The Office where they take everyone's picture and put it around a table, and we put beans on everyone's faces to determine how much they're going to get.
Adam ends up with a lot of beans, coincidentally. It's kind of crazy.
Okay.
Zach can't control himself.
Dude, I can't today.
Any Adam joke, Zach is on.
Well, so there's moments in the song where I feel like you're talking about yourself, but also talking about somebody else in Adventures Out There. Is that correct, or am I off?
I'm not quite sure. It's funny. I guess I haven't given it that much thought. When Ryan first presented me with the lyrics of "I Keep Losing My Socks," I thought it was such a genius idea, because what that really is you being an introverted, kind of scared person that's really afraid to go outside your comfort zone and go outside and literally go outside and experience things. But everyone loses their socks. They leave them in hotel rooms. They leave them at, girlfriends' places. And those socks are the ones that are actually have the confidence to go travel the world and end up over there in Europe. They're probably somewhere there. And I loved the idea of you being jealous of this object, and I thought that was such a great idea. And I totally felt that, because at so many times in our life, we're just like, it feels so good to sit inside today, but I know it feels so much better if I actually just got out the door and did something.
Right. Yeah, and then we kind of exploded the chorus. The chorus was when we decided, oh, this has to make the album. Oh, wait. That 3-part harmony thing got us so excited, because we haven't done 3-part harmony since we're like street performing.
It's tap dancing and yeah.
And it felt just very like Mumford & Sons First Aid Kit. You're on the road driving, and we thought, okay, now it's not a copy of Karma or whatever anymore. Now it's its own thing.
Each record sounds so different from one another, and you cross genres beyond. I mean, is that the challenge for you? Obviously, like, it is a challenge to make every song sound so different, but at the same time, you're learning. Like, it's pretty wild. Like, it's just, I don't know. The thought that, like, just, like, does everything start from a slide guitar or something that you randomly hear? Or are you building something from your head?
It's literally different for every single song, right?
Yeah.
There's no consistency to the way that we work. That for instance, the slide guitar is yes, that's a sound that's like, oh, that's something we haven't done before. And as soon as we hear something that we haven't done before, oh my God, it's the most exciting thing in the world, because music, hundreds of thousands of songs are being made every single day. New genres are just passing day by day. It's so difficult to find new stuff, as opposed to the 1950s where it's like, the world is your oyster. So it's when that moment happens where you do find something, or Jordan Peele writes Get Out, which is an untapped genre, it's like the greatest feeling in the world, because you invented something. So
the crazy thing for me, as the person who hears the songs probably before anyone else in the public, but after Ryan and Jack finish, is that all the songs sound so different, but they all sound like they're coming from the same artist. And that is a balance that I think is incredibly difficult to get to, because you can put all these different instruments, all this different crazy production, but if it doesn't sound like it's the same artist doing it, then it probably shouldn't be on the same album. It needs to sound like one cohesive artist, and I think they did that with this album.
Thank you.
By the way, OK Orchestra is the album. There's a link in the description below for you to listen to it. 3 o'clock. There's a lot of layers on this record, both in lyrics, but also in the production. And are the instruments on here fake or real?
This one is a mix. A lot of them are. Oh, no. What, the trumpets are real, correct?
Yeah, trumpets are real.
Yeah. This one was probably the most interesting to write out of any of the songs on the album, I think. This one was. We knew we wanted to do a all over the place.
Stream of consciousness.
Right, that's the word. Stream of consciousness song that eventually turns political. We were like, okay, we need the political song, but let's not dive head first. And that's literally what we did. We laid out the framework and said, okay, we're going to start out with thoughts that you have at 3 o'clock when you should be asleep, but your mind is running, and one thing leads to another, and there's all these weird, irrational awakenings about your life that you shouldn't listen to any of them, but you are really concerned. So we started out with lyrics. It's kind of weird that I paid for college when I could have just gone on YouTube and learned everything there. And then it was really we just let our mind run from there. And eventually it turned into a political song.
And that was, writing it was really hard, because it was a hard mental state to get into, because you want to write a pop song in a pop structure. You just, after doing it for so long, I don't know, you just naturally want to have verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And to have to break that consciously and be like, no, it's okay to just say stuff about college or stuff about dating or stuff about the president. and then randomly have a trumpet break and randomly have a little verse. It's hard to break that mold, but we finally got it after like a lot of tries.
How do you break the mold? Is it like something like this starts with the lyric and then you build from there, knowing that you want it to be this big, not long thing, but you want it to have a bunch of different layers to it? Because it's hard to digest here, because the lyrics are so intense, but also not at the same time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. The thing about stream of conscious songs, and there are a few out there, is if it doesn't resonate right away, it's garbage. You got to throw it out and start over. And line by line, I'm talking about. And maybe sex is overrated, but we're too shy to ever say it. Okay, that's going in there, of course. Like, we've all thought about that. Everyone wants to be the guy who's, I'm so good at sex, and I've slept with all these girls. And no one wants to be the one to on it a little bit. That's hilarious. That's going right in. The YouTube line, that's 100% going right in. It's kind of funny how you vote for someone to vote for someone to vote for someone. That's okay. Oh, that is really funny. That's going right in. And there were probably twice as many lines that didn't make it in that were like, what? No one's ever felt that. That's just me and Ryan. That's just Adam's thing. So that's how you have to attack a song like that. If you don't get an instant feeling, it's no good.
Do you feel like you need to stand by the song, the lyrics that you put out there? Like, you know, when you're talking about keeping your fans and speaking out in regards to racism, like that is a very, very relevant topic, right? And you see a lot of people choosing to say nothing for safety's sake.
Yeah, we find that to be truly ludicrous, you know, and that's personally. Yet the concept of that's really interesting to write about. It is like a toss-up. Do I say something to lose the fans? Do I not? Personally, there are priorities in the world, and having this many more fans at your show rather than saying what's right in order for immediate change and people living life to the fullest and to the safest, that's not, people at the show is not the priority. So I think we're talking about that struggle, and then sort of at the end, it's sort of like one thing is so obvious. It's if you're, racist.
Here, I want to play this part.
Yeah.
Isn't this obvious? Am I insane? There might be two sides.
So we're exploring the obvious themes in politics. There's two sides.
Cloudy, but there's one thing I know, that if you're racist, then don't come to my show.
We have to do one more. Yeah, and then so we had to throw that line at the end because, and it's just completely self-explanatory. It is so obvious. Yes, there are two sides. People believe this, people believe this. No one can make the case that this person does not deserve the same right as this person because of their skin color. And God, if any of those people have been at our show, please do not come again, is what we were trying to say. We'd much rather play for 300 nice, good people than a stadium of people who think like that. That's absurd. So that's kind of what we were trying to say.
Nice.
And that was my next question. Do racist people deserve your music?
No.
I'd be shocked. I mean, they're not listening to the words then.
Yeah, if they like it at all.
We've really touched on that theme a couple of times of equality and stuff like that. So if they are, they're not very smart.
I've thought about this issue so much, and I wrote a piece in Billboard actually about this idea of people having, artists having a responsibility to say something when they actually care about things. And then I think about, we have these opinions on certain things, and we have, a medium-sized platform. We don't have the Selena Gomez level, number of fans. But if we are going to stand behind what we feel, and I feel like artists do have a responsibility to say things, we need to be just as okay with the artists who believe the opposite thing from we do, that we do, even if they have millions of followers, and we can vehemently disagree with them. But if we're going to say these things that we believe and have a responsibility to share this stuff with our fans, we need to be okay with people saying the opposite, and we need to be very vocal if we disagree with them, but it's something that is out there because, I think silence is the biggest problem, and being a bystander is the biggest problem right now.
And putting in your music, essentially, it's one step further than, a couple steps further than you just saying something or you posting something on Instagram, right? It's a part of your catalog and discography and your impact on culture forever.
Yeah, and you need to think a lot harder about it. I think when we all were posting the black squares, that was I guess great, and we all joined in on this movement. But that took little to no effort, right? It took no deep thought or reflection. And a song like this took months and months of reflection of what's the best way to say this. And if we have any younger artists, newer artists watching, or any of our artist friends or fans, like what will really penetrate them? Because I think it's really hard to break into people's psyches once they believe something. And probably a Black Square didn't really break into anybody's psyche the way hopefully a line like this would. So it's something that we think really hard about, and we don't do it for shock value in any sense. We do it really for the art and for the importance of where we're at in society right now.
And it makes us think about all these things as a business because, we run a touring business and a music making business, and we think about these things when we're going on tour and trying to be more sustainable. We think about these things in hiring practices and making sure we're diverse and getting diverse opinions of people. It's something that we don't just say in music because we have a platform to say it. It's something that we are living our life by at the same time.
When you end a song by saying, if you're a racist, don't come to our show, why not just end the song on that so it makes like a big impact? Why did you guys continue the song afterwards?
Oh, interesting question.
That's a great question.
So it ends with this.
Yeah. To be 100% honest, I thought that it was an even bigger you to those people, honestly. No, we're not going to just end the song and be like, and that's a big thing. It's more like, no, that's obvious. We're going to still party without you guys. That's kind of how I took it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, real quick. Just a question. It's a hypothetical. Radio people are like, "Oh, we like this song. We think it's going to be a hit, but you have to cut out that line." What do you say?
Ooh, wow.
Oh my God, what a great question.
I mean, we didn't write it to be a single at all.
But go with it. Go with the hypothetical.
No, I think that would be a no. I really think that's compromising the entire point of the song. I really think it is. There's all these toss-ups. Oh, this could be true. This could be true. No, there is one thing that is true at the end of the song, or else it would just be very two-dimensional. I think that's the one line that makes the song, fully three-dimensional. Yeah.
Oh, also one more thing, just in terms of the production that we really liked about this were the old-fashioned voices. We didn't get to them. Am I still?
It was sort of the next step after the Neo Theater, like Close Harmony. We sort of stepped a decade later, right, into like the 1940s.
Yeah.
In the style of like do you want to play like Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy?
Oh,
Do you have that? It's this is kind of the style we were really inspired by. When Bette Midler's voice comes in here.
We used to have a tap dancing team to this song.
Yeah.
So it's different from the like Disney style Close Harmony because it's a lot more sevenths. It's a lot jazzier. Everything's a lot more, lightly sung as opposed to Your Eyes Are Open, which has a lot of gravity to it. We thought, that combined with a hip hop beat, that's cool. And so we got the Bew Sisters, who is an artist that Steve, our manager, used to sign or signed at one point. Come on, guy, I promise everything will be all right. And then with the hip hop beat.
A big sound of AJR's is ultimate juxtaposition. You would never find the hip hop beat and the 1940s thing together, but we're gonna put it together. And there was a lot of instruction that we had to give them, like the last album, of how to sing it correctly. They sang a few passes of "Come on, guy," just like a little bit more in the front, and it's supposed to be "Come on, guy," be like barely like slurring their words. So we eventually got to the place where it did sound a lot closer to the Bette Midler song.
Harder to work remotely with artists like that?
Yeah,
much harder.
100%. When we recorded Neo Theater, Next Up Forever, it was immediate. They were all there. We were behind the glass. We're like, no, marbles in the mouth, and then we got it in a few hours. And this was days and even weeks, actually, of setting stuff back and forth.
Who's the voice at the top of the overture?
Ooh, oh man.
Do you remember?
It's
her
so
name?
funny that we didn't do overture first.
Yeah, that is funny.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Barbara?
I think her name is Barbara. That's so bad that we do not know. I apologize, Barbara. Pretty sure.
No.
No. I'm apologizing to her, not you, Zach.
Tell Barbara that we're
Tell
sorry.
Barbara, yeah, can you pass that on? No, it is honestly, I guess the story behind that was it was really just searching for the right voice. We knew we wanted a interesting sounding voice, and then we kind of narrowed it down to an older British woman that had a certain, and we got a bunch of passes of different older British women, and she was just really had the right tone. And then we were just like, that's it. We wanted a bit more Harry Potter, Professor McGonagall kind of feel.
These are our drums. This is our melody.
I'm just going to let this play because I want to talk about it.
Listen closely as our drums become our melody. And here's our song.
Yeah, so we thought, did you already say the Peter and the Wolf thing? I wasn't
No,
listening.
I didn't.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we thought a lot like, remember Peter and the Wolf? We all listened to it when we were young.
I don't know if you guys did.
The part of the clarinet will be played by...
The animal.
Part of the wolf will be played by the bassoon.
The bassoon, yeah. And it's like introducing these different themes, and then it all comes together with this, was he British, the narrator? I forget who the...
I don't think so, no. But he had that exact same sort of timbre that was, okay, you really wanted to listen. He was teaching you something really cool.
Yeah, so that always stayed with us, and we thought, what if we do that kind of ironically in this setting?
Well, is it an ironic education, or do you really want people to listen to this overture, understand what's about to come, and then gives you a different idea or a different way to dissect or escape in this album?
It's both. It's funny, and you definitely laugh when you hear these are our drums, because you weren't expecting that. But also, that's what happens with all of our songs. You laugh when Ryan says, I just really want to call my dad. And it's and then you're like, oh wait, that's actually kind of cool. And then you sort of lean in. That's a lot of what fans say AJR songs are. Oh, okay, cool.
Ryan, can you talk about the drums becoming that point of it?
Yeah, so we wanted we wanted to show the instruments morphing in a bunch of different ways. We do the violin to trumpet. We do this drum melody in Humpty Dumpty. We have a talking instrument. We wanted to show a lot of different facets of OK Orchestra. And for this, this was probably maybe the hardest one to do, because you can imagine, what would drums sound like if they were tuned and making a melody? And it's one thing to imagine it, and then it's another thing to actually make it. And so, it came from a lot of technically, if you take a kick drum and you go, you keep looping it or whatever, and you speed up the tempo to eventually it will sound like a bass. And I have a feeling that's how dubstep basses were originally made. And you can hear it here. It gets a little bit faster, and then it gets fast enough until it's recognizable.
That's literally a bunch of drums going like that.
Yeah, sped up. And then that was kind of the core of, okay, if we do that to a lot of different drums, we can start to have you register, these are drums, but it's also making a melody.
But so you only discover that by messing around, right? Or
yeah.
That's how everything gets discovered, honestly. Right?
Yeah, that's how the first electric guitar, it was discovered from overloading an amp, and then they accidentally poked holes in the rubber of the speaker, and it had a fluttering sound, and that invented different kinds of distortion. It was all just mistakes.
The Trick. Can we move into this record? Because the lyrics stand out to me. You obviously don't have a dog that can dance. You hopefully didn't date a 28-year-old when you were in the 8th grade.
You don't know?
I guess I was going to say we're not here to judge, but that I would judge. A lyric that stands out, I'm not proud of this, but I'm not proud of the truth. How does a song like this begin? Is it reflection, or is it something that happens within days of the studio?
This song is probably my favorite song on the album, and I'll tell you why. It's because we're telling a story from the point of view of an anti-hero, and we've never done that before in our music. And an anti-hero is, in a movie setting, is, a protagonist, yet they have major flaws and they're actually kind of unlikable. The Social Network, Mark Zuckerberg is the perfect example of an anti-hero. He is, but he is the protagonist of the story, and this is a perfect example of one. And the cool thing about an anti-hero is they're really fun to watch because they are really annoying, but also they do have something that you like about them. And when Aaron Sorkin wrote Mark Zuckerberg's character, he says when you're writing an anti-hero, you have to give them a reason to be accepted into heaven. They can't just be or else you're never gonna sympathize. And the person, Mark Zuckerberg's and thing that gets him accepted is that yes, he is an asshole, but it's a lot of it is a front, and he is doing it for love and for this girl. In this case, this person is a liar, and that sucks. Everyone hates liars, yet he feels really bad about it, and he can't really help it. He's not saying, ha ha, I fooled you. He's saying, God, I truly can't help myself. And I think that's why this is a really cool song, because you feel for someone who's not such a great person, which is a really interesting moment in storytelling or music.
And it's a very sad story of someone that's trapped in a relationship where it's all been a foundation of lies.
Is it based on imagination or?
It's based on people we know.
Yeah, and I mean, all of us lie to a degree, so we could definitely get in the frame of mind of someone who is a compulsive liar like that.
Is it you guys singing on the song?
Yeah, that's my voice. And we what we did was, do you have? Yeah. So what we did was we recorded a slow version. So it was I got a dog with like extreme vibrato, and then we sped it up. So the vibrato. So basically, it was faster, higher pitch, and the vibrato was I can't even do it naturally. It doesn't sound good, but that's the only way we could achieve that cool kind of Tiny Tim sound. And we thought it was so great because when he's telling, you play for that for a sec. Oh. Do you not have it?
I don't have it.
That's okay. That's okay. But we thought it was really cool because when he is telling the lies, it's the same person, but it's a completely different voice. This is the liar. And then when the chorus comes in, we'll get out of this. When he starts being genuine, my actual voice comes in. And that's the truth teller.
It's a beautiful story. It's hard to put yourself in the shoes or the mindset of somebody like that. Do you learn anything about yourself from doing it?
Yeah.
You said that you related to it on some
I definitely
level
related.
of wanting people to like you,
Yeah, I think that, I think I kind of back to my point before. You could say, you're a liar, you're a bad person, but what's the motivation? Could it be I'm lying to be accepted by a group of friends? Could it be I'm lying to save this relationship? And all of those are really kind of just sweet reasons. So I remember I used to lie when I was younger to be accepted by people, and I can do this, and my dog can dance. Now, do you like me? So that's where I'm sure a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it.
And we realized, actually listening back with Steve, our manager, we realized a lot of these songs are about some version of lying, and actually better said, some version of coping with the truth. And the trick is probably the clearest example of it, but you could say that about Humpty Dumpty. You could argue that about
Joe
Joe. I don't ever think of you.
My play.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's a natural part of growing up and getting older and trying to cope with really dim realities is like lying to yourself or lying to other people. And we thought that's a really interesting thing to explore.
In your own lives, have you been able to answer the question, if love dies, why bother?
Oh my God. That's something that you say and then you push down very hard and don't want to think about it ever again. And there's a lot of those things. No.
Unless you're me and it runs the way you exist.
It's
why? What do you think? What's your opinion?
I believe love could be forever when it's the right love. And I think sometimes people, but maybe it can't be forever. I don't know. I'm so naive to the situation, and my scope, my lens that I've been looking at love has been so fogged and stormy and very narrow that I'm not even in a place to comment on it, truthfully, because in some cases I believe there is like love that could last forever, but then there also could be love that could last for a long time and then fizzle over time.
That's where I'm at, I think, where it's like, if you, let's say you guys get divorced after 10 years or whatever, that's not a failure. I hate when people call it like a failed marriage. That was a wonderful 10 years and then you move on to the next thing. I think that's kind of where I'm at, where I don't know if I believe that it's you get married and then no matter what, it's till death do us part. That's a sweet sentiment, but like, who invented that? Why does it need to be that? Why couldn't it be till this runs its course, do us part?
Obviously, there's a pattern of that not being very realistic.
Yeah.
Statistics speak for themselves. Is it hard to put this in a song? I mean, because you're essentially talking about your own life. Like, as somebody who grew up in a divorced household, the concept of doing everything twice is very hard. And that's what your play is. But like, to me, the play is, yes, in some cases, wanting to show both sets of parents what I've been creating. But in other times, it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, it's every birthday, it's every holiday, it's It's every major life event that happens twice, you know? And it's a hard thing to grapple with. Is it hard to put that in a song or to come to terms with?
Yeah, it was hard.
That was, I got to give Ryan all the credit, honestly, and I say this all the time. It obviously happened to us, and we were obviously going to write about it at some point. I think we were kind of avoiding it, you know, like, no, it just can't be done. Kind of like when we wrote our song Role Models about the Me Too movement that was happening. Like, no, we can't put that in a song. And then Ryan, it was another, just like Role Models, Ryan went off by himself and said, nope, I got it. It's not going to be, we have divorced, we have separated parents, we have divorced parents. Isn't that sad? It's, no, let's find one thing that's, even if you try to not cry, you're still going to get emotional because it happened to you. And that's putting on a play for your parents, which is the most exciting thing in the world when you're 5 years old and it's the first time you are creative, which is like, oh my God, it's like a drug to a 5-year-old. It's like, I did this all by myself. And the feeling of showing both of your parents is the best thing in the world. And now that is gone and it's taken away from you. And that is such a devastating thing to talk about. And Ryan just hit that nail right on the head. It's emotional. Even if you try to push it away, it's still going to have an effect on you.
Do you look at the situation that happened in your life differently after the song is done?
We were really scared to play it for our mom and dad. Remember that? Our
dad had kind of a lukewarm reaction.
Yeah.
At first, it was honestly like when, this is a really dark metaphor, but it's honestly like when someone like passes in your life and you have like an underwhelming reaction. It's like, oh yeah. And then sort of like a couple days later, like right after the funeral, it sort of like hits you and it's like, oh my God. And then it all comes at once. And I think that's exactly what happened to our dad. At first he made I think like we played it for him and he made a comment. He was like, I think you need like a little more here. And we were like, wait, hold on a sec. Like, did you listen to what the song was about? He's like, yeah. And like 2 days later, I think he sent us a text me like, guys, I truly cannot stop thinking about this. It's consuming my entire life. He loved it, but it just hit him a lot later, which I thought was so great. We were so confused at first and it was like, oh, it's that same reaction of, okay, it all hit him at once.
A hard song to put out there, but I'm telling you, it's a very important song that I think needs to exist. And as somebody who comes from a divorced household and divorced very early on, a lot of kids need that. I think kids need that. It's something that doesn't get talked about enough, and I think kids need to understand that they're not alone in that. And yeah, hard to put out there, hard to share with those closest to you, but I think the impact of the record will be felt far and wide. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I was going to do this.
No.
We'll cross
Thank
over.
you.
No. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, guys.
OK Orchestra is the album. Please listen to
All right,
it.
bye, guys.
Good seeing you.
Obviously, we have Way Less Sad. That is the current single. It's out in the world. This record, in the span of the album, where does it come in the creative process?
This was a really cool story, and this is one that we've been telling, and it's basic. Okay, yeah, I'll tell it quickly. The story of Way Less Sad was actually 9 years in the making. 9 years ago, we isolated a sample from a Simon & Garfunkel song called My Little Town, and it is the last 3 seconds of My Little Town is what we loved about the song. It was the catchiest part, and it was literally in the fade out. It was a horn line that you even had to bump your volume up to hear. It was so low. We were like, that is so catchy. Why didn't they use it in the rest of the song? So we said, okay, we're going to do it. So we isolated it and put it in a track 9 years ago. That was this sort of like disco inspired thing. Ryan will play My Little Town for you right now. Just go to the very end. It's even further.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Here it is. This is the fade out. This is what we sampled. And it fades out, and that's the only time it happens in the entire song. We're like, that is such a great horn line. It's so good. So we dropped it into
And
our
your
own
song's
little...
built around that.
It literally, yes. And we dropped it into our own little funky like disco track that we ended up saying, okay, this is not right. We don't really have it yet. So we put it away for like literally 9 years. Then what happened was a couple of years ago, Kygo's manager reached out asking if we had any songs, and we wrote this song over a track that they sent where the chorus was, don't you love it, don't you love it, no, I'm happy yet. Yeah. So, yeah, so, okay, we had that, and then what happened, we were like, okay, they didn't want it. We were like, okay, that's a really good chorus. That's strong. And then the next thing that happened was Cardi B's label, Atlantic, they reached out asking if we had any tracks for Cardi B or Top Line. And we broke out the Simon & Garfunkel sample and made a little hip hop track around that and wrote this top line over it where Ryan's girlfriend is actually singing a song called Winning, and which they did not want, and it went like this. Wait.
Keep in mind, my girlfriend is not a singer by any measure.
She was trying to imitate Cardi B in a way.
Oh, great.
Wait, I want to go to
Wait,
the rap
go
part.
to. Yeah.
Wait, I'm looking for the rap part.
Wait, could you play the chorus?
It's coming.
Okay.
150 degrees, breathe the mouth oven, cause I'm coming to eat. Don't type me nombre in your caption just to get on my feet. I might just make another million, that's a bon appetit. Now how you feeling, bro? Winning. Out here since 11, trying to catch a feeling.
So catchy.
We really liked that. And
Cardi B missed out.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what we thought.
She put out WAP instead, and then we were like, oh, okay, never mind.
Oh, that's not really the direction she was headed in. Yeah. We were like, that was a waste. No, and then it turned out to not be a waste, because what happened was we were writing this new song, and we basically wrote a song around Don't You Love It, Don't You Love It, No, I Ain't Happy Yet, but I'm way less sad. And then we were looking for production, and we took back the sample and we kind of AJR-ified it and dropped it in, and it was that real moment of like the final piece of the puzzle, and it was like, oh my God, it fits so perfectly, the perfect BPM. And that's how the song came to be.
Wow. Meant for you, beyond meant for you, and meant to be a single.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Cardi B.
Wow, what a story.
You like that?
I was not expecting that
was
today.
that was a roller coaster of a story with a great ending.
I know.
That was a Frankie Jonas level story.
No, not that good. Come on.
God, that guy is so cool.
God, so much poop. Yeah.
He didn't write Christmas songs or produce Christmas songs for Meghan Trainor, which that inspires Christmas in June, right? Because y'all get into that headspace in the summer when everybody's making Christmas music, because that's just the way the music cycle works.
Oh.
I gotta say, you are not correct about that. I have to say,
Really?
that was not. That is true. We did co-write the songs with Meghan Trainor and produce them. But the phrase "Christmas in June" was written in my notes about 2 years ago. What happened with that song? Yeah, just the phrase, and I was like, "That's really great. That's so good." I don't know what it means, but that's a great song title. That's great. Ryan, we were in Long Island, and this was another song we wrote out there. And I came in one night into the house, and Ryan went, "Listen to this. This is a cool Broadway melody I have." He went da dum da 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 da. And I was like, "Oh, Ryan, that's definitely sounds Broadway, but that could easily be on the album. That is so sweet and Belle and Sebastian kind of." And I think right there, I was like, Christmas in June. That's exactly sort of the feeling. It's like this easygoing thing. And that was, besides Bummerland, that was I think that was the second quickest song that we wrote. I think we wrote the entire thing in about 30 minutes.
So you just built it all around just 2 words or 3 words.
Christmas in June. And I think I shouted that out, and Ryan was like, what does it mean? What does it mean? And we eventually got to the place that this is a great idea for a song. It's almost like Come Hang Out Part 2, but it's about a relationship that you're in, which is, and the concept is, I want this relationship to work. I love you, but there's that point where you have to choose between, fulfilling your dreams, which you've had for 20 years, and, making the person that you love happy and being happy with that person. So can we just, I'm probably going to be gone in December, so can we just do Christmas in June and try to make that work? And it was very inspired by my own situation. I started dating my girlfriend in college, and it was that situation of, I was gone every single weekend. I couldn't really see her socially, and we got a couple of those points that are like, God, I'm like dying to be with you now, but we do have that game-changing festival that if we don't play, we're not going to get an ad at this radio station. And I really think it's something that every human ever in a relationship can relate to. It's not so black and white. It is definitely the relationship and nothing else. There's a lot of things that are important to people in life. So there's that interesting question of like, what do you choose and when? So that's how that song came to be.
In making those sacrifices, that's how you're with the right person, right? Because not everybody deserves those sacrifices. No, not everybody deserves moving Christmas to June.
Right,
100%.
And it ends on this. I love that. We really like this ending, and we knew after we finished it, this has to be the ending of the album. We don't need a big finale like Neo Theater. No, we need an understated thing, because it just gets like really real all of a sudden, where it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and then you start talking about having kids, and wow, my whole life is gonna be a compromise from now on. Like it's like kind of this like crazy realization.
This isn't college anymore,
Yeah, actually, sorry, not my whole life. Your whole life is gonna be a compromise from now, and that's like more of it. Like am I an ass for saying this?
Is there a moment in this process where you just have to throw those fears out the window and just say, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I just need to be 100% honest? Or do you question yourself along the way?
No, there's definitely questioning happening. It's not totally normal. I know those people that are just say what's on their mind. That's definitely not us. It was a big struggle to write a song about Joe. It was a big struggle to talk about my relationship in any
you were worried about playing it for Alba, yeah.
I was super worried, yeah. And I played it for her and I sent it to her and she called me crying as soon as she heard the last line. Darling, if we're ever gonna have a kid, don't want to miss it. Can we just have him in June? And she just had tears on her face and she was like, this is the best song that you've ever written. And she was completely biased. Yeah. Completely biased. But yeah, no. But then we realized in a general sense, you don't. No one likes. No one really wants to go to a show or be friends with the person that's just like has the most basic issue or like non-issues that are just like, damn, I couldn't. I didn't get what I wanted at that restaurant. Like that. Like that's so boring. So the more honest you are, and there's a high chance that that's more what someone thinks. I'm sure someone has had these thoughts before. So you really just have to get to that place of, I know it's difficult to just put yourself out there, but that's the way that people are gonna come see you. That's the way that people are gonna say, this is my favorite song and this saved my life. So you just have to, get past that. You
got to bear yourself, man. You got to give yourself to these records. They are you. You are the songs. There's no difference.
That's right.
OK Orchestra is the album. Link in the description below. So you really, when you're creating a Christmas song, you don't need to be in a Christmas mindset. You can just whip it out.
I don't think it's quite a Christmas song. I mean, it definitely. I think.
No, not Christmas in June. I mean, I was going back to the Meghan Trainor thing. Like you could just
the Meghan Trainor one.
You channel Christmas
whenever you want.
Sent us the start of those songs, and we did. I think a little bit have to get into the Christmas vibe when you were producing it, for sure.
Yeah,
you did put the hat on and the Santa. We had to spend $600 on a Santa outfit that Ryan had to get into for some reason. But that's pretty much it.
Adam, I have a question for you. Did they ever bring you anything on this album that you weren't sold on at first and they had to kind of convince you?
Great
yes.
Question. Oh, wow.
Yes. It's a song that was the song that turned into Bummerland. Do you remember?
Oh. What? Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Outside. I guess we could say it. Okay. Why
it was called Outside.
Yeah. There was one song that I wasn't sold on. And I was confused. Remember, I was confused by the lyrics. And I was like, oh, is this about socialized medicine? And remember?
No, I don't remember
say that out loud. That was the first time you said that out loud. I'm glad you didn't say that out loud. That would have been the end of the writing process.
What?
Socialized medicine. That's, Zach, you talked about bearing your soul. That's it right there. That's what the people want to hear. Socialized medicine. We'll see you at Madison Square Garden,
No, Dan, there's one song that I've been begging Ryan and Jack to rework for years. And
what is this?
We had the exact same reaction. What?
What are you talking about?
What song?
It's one of the ones we haven't talked about yet. I've told you guys for years that the chorus of this song is one of my favorite choruses.
The last song on the album that we haven't talked about, I believe.
Well, we're missing two. We're missing two songs.
Okay, yeah.
This chorus has been one of my favorite choruses for a really long time. Humpty Dumpty. And I've been telling Ryan and Jack, you need to go back to the song. You need to go back to the song.
We wrote Humpty Dumpty, and the chorus was so good, and we knew that it was so good. It was so relatable. It's another example of not wanting to, show your true self. It's not wanting to be unlikable because you're showing pain and you're getting hurt. So, Humpty Dumpty, when he fell down, he said, screw it, I'm going to smile right through it and I'll scream when no one's around. We're like, that's so tight. The original song that we wrote around it was just very bad writing. It was. No, and we knew, and it was just on our part. It was very telling, not showing. It was, here's what the song is about, which is just, you want people to visualize. So we kind of scrapped it and felt bad about it. And then finally, Adam was 100% right. The chorus was really, really good. So we went back and really dug deep into it. It's probably the most difficult thing to do on the album. It was like the beats, I think, of the album. It was like, how do we get this right, And 3, 2, what are you even playing?
Oh, well, I was going to, just because he's in the room, I was going to play Ezra singing backup on the chorus.
Wait, yes, you have to play it.
Humpty Dumpty went Humpty Dumpty went Humpty Dumpty went down.
So right then we had a big decision to make. Do we put this out or do we burn it? So, he's here.
Yeah, that was another thing, just recording remotely. To do any kind of gang vocals, we had to, whereas last album, we were in dressing rooms where we could record the whole crew together. Now I had to ask, like, just for Ezra, who's in Staten Island, and this guy who's in LA, they all recorded, like, separately, and then I put them together.
You've tapped into a lot of things. Like, it just from the album, it feels like my childhood, but like looking at it from a perspective of being in my mid-20s, like looking back. It is like even the concept of using Humpty Dumpty, which is a character. I'm assuming he's old enough where it's public domain, like nobody ose him.
I don't think we used Beats by Dre and didn't clear anything.
Yeah.
Nobody
Wait,
gave a
Adam,
shit,
socialized medicine. Oh my god.
There was one thing, one last production thing that I just wanted to say in Humpty Dumpty. This talking piano thing. I'm pretty proud of. And so that was kind of like the last little frontier of like instruments being alive, whether it's morphing into instruments or being able to talk. And that idea was just like, what if a piano could talk? And that was our like little 5-year-old brain saying, what if a piano could talk? And then our adult brain has to say, let's actually make it happen. And it came from, I don't know if you guys used to watch this.
Oh, you have it. I was hoping you had it. That's so great.
Did you ever watch this Silly Symphonies? It's like an old Disney like VHS thing. Did you watch this, Ezra? We always used to watch this, and it like stuck with us.
Imagine there's an ad.
Yeah, where these instruments were like alive, and it was like classical verse jazz, and it always just, I don't know, stuck with me at least, of like, what if an instrument could talk and was alive? What would it sound like? And then we came up with that Humpty Dumpty thing.
Again, do you discover this because you want to make an instrument talk, or do you discover how to make an instrument talk because it was a mistake?
No, this was actually
or like
Ryan.
just by accident.
No, this was Ryan trying to make what you just saw happen in real life. Actually, like, this is what it would sound like if a piano, grew lips and started speaking.
Zach, do you remember the beginning of the Neo Theater tour? There was a video for when the first song was playing, and there were all these horns in the sky, and the horns were opening and closing like they were speaking, doing that first part,
Don't
your
ask
eyes
Zach,
are...
ask Dan. He's seen our show before.
Oh.
I have seen your show before.
Dan, remember at the beginning of the Blue Man Group show when all the instruments, were talking? But that was like the first visual representation at the beginning of the Neo Theater show, at least from my perspective, of to take that thing that Ryan just showed of that. What is it called? The Island of Instruments?
Musicland.
Oh, Musicland. Yeah. And to visually represent it. And now on this album, it's represented from an audio perspective. So it's all coming together into one complete picture.
What do you want your fans to walk away with after listening to this body of work?
This is definitely the most emotional thing we've ever done in our careers. This is by far the most emotional album. I really wanted to resonate with them on that level. We really took a lot of risks. We kind of took one step further in a lot of these songs, such as, like The Trick. It's not that easy to wrap your head around the first time that you listen. Oh no, it's about a liar and there's a relationship, huh? But you have to give it 2 or 3 listens in order to be like, wow, I really sympathize with this guy. Or maybe I have even felt like this before. So it's a lot less,
on the nose.
Yeah, a lot less on the nose than we usually go. So I really want people to, listen a few times and get to that point of, oh wow, I've felt this before. And this is actually a lot more muscular than they have done before with their music.
Touring to accompany this album, obviously we're in a different time now, but you've done an incredible live stream. An honor to be a part of it in some capacity. You did a drive-through show before people were doing drive-through shows. Do we want to tour again? Do you know when?
Yeah.
I think
it's a dumb question because the answer is 2022, right? Really?
Well, we can definitively say that we will be touring this album. What that's going to look like, we'll see. But definitely we will be doing a tour where we will be playing, this album and letting the live version of these songs live on.
I gotta say, that's not satisfying to anyone, what you just said. At some point in the 80 years that we're on this earth, these songs will be played live. Most of you will not be alive for that, but it will be done. In the near future.
Yes, and we're gonna announce it in the near future too.
Yep.
Is there a desire to tour, or is there... do you like being able to stay put and just create?
No, it's okay. Yeah. So what's happened this year is really funny because, to be honest, we hadn't really had more than a few week break for the last 5 years before this started. So it gets to the point whereas if you do anything, you know, a tennis player that plays matches every single day, he's going to get desensitized to the sport at some point. He's going to get tired. He's going to get exhausted and need a bit of a break. We never really had that time, or I personally didn't, where I was like out for a week and I was like, God, I need to get back on tour. I got to get out there. So it's been really, really cool because I think through 2 months into the pandemic, 3 months in, it got to the point where I did say that. And I was like, oh my God, I'd give anything to be on stage right now. And that's a really, really cool feeling. So literally when we were making this album, I think Ryan and I already have half of the next show planned, at least. And we haven't really sat down to actually talk about it yet. And it's an entirely different show. Sorry, keeping the mic. From Neo Theater. There's not any reused stuff. It's all completely different. And it's definitely a step up. And
this album definitely wouldn't have happened unless we had off this year. I mean, it's weird to say that we had off this year because we were still working a lot. But
off from traveling.
Yeah. I mean, we were supposed to spend 2020 on the road touring because we had sold a ton of tickets. And then we were going to take the next year off, actually, to work on some other things. And this album definitely wouldn't have happened. And now we just can't wait to get back on the road. And it's also allowed us to, all of us, to work on other things that we can't tell you about. Is that also exciting for people to hear?
I'm glad you're checking with me from now on. Yes.
OK Orchestra, listen to the album. There's a link in the description below. Final thoughts, Daniel?
Well, the only song we didn't talk about was Bang, but I think we all know the success that one had.
Massive.
Wait, tell us, Dan. Tell us about the success.
Well, you guys released a song called Bang, and it did pretty well, if I had to say so myself.
Talk about the hits, man. Go through the stats. Number one. Let's go.
Well, it did go number one at radio, did it?
It was pretty close. I think it was
number
like
one, Hot AC.
Number one, Hot AC.
Number two, Alternative. I think number
4,
7.
5? Oh, God.
At top 40.
Well
6?
off. Way off.
Yeah.
It had an amazing life. It was also in an Apple commercial. I mean, 100 Bad Days was Taylor Swift approved. This was Tim Apple approved. I mean, there's a lot of defining moments, defining approvals.
Should I jump on the Tim Apple thing again, or should I just let that sit there for everyone to comment in the comments?
Tim Cook is an icon. And
there you go.
The world is better because he's in it, truly. I mean, do those types of approvals matter to you as you continue to create and perform and exist?
Oh my God, absolutely. And oh my God, I hear so often that it's like artists say, you know, I make music and I don't care what anyone else says. I make it for me. Oh my God, that could not be farther from the truth. We make it for ourselves as, you know, absolute like therapy in a kind of way. But anytime someone says we like this, Taylor Swift says we like this, how could we not be excited about that? That is what literally keeps us going till the next album. You know, that's okay. People still like what we're doing. Let's get started again. That means everything to us.
What song should Taylor Swift listen to off of OK Orchestra? She only has time to give your album one song.
She can do one.
I wonder if she consumes music that way.
Taylor should listen to
Overture.
She should. If someone can only listen to one song, I'd probably say definitely do the Overture. Why not? I mean, it's all the songs in one, in a way.
Well, hopefully it will hook her and she'll want to listen to the whole album.
Thank you for this weird hypothetical where she's rushing out the door and she only has what time? 3 minutes. No, I got to go to an appointment. I got to listen to one song from OK Orchestra. That doesn't sound very likely to me.
I'm manifesting it. AJR, OK Orchestra's the album. Link in the description below. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
Interview over.
Hey, beautiful human, thanks for watching our full interview, but I get it. Like, a full interview is a lot, so we got a clips channel. We don't expect you to watch the full thing anymore, so we just gave you the highlights. Please subscribe and notifications and all that stuff. Okay, cool. I love you.